Hey, what's going on everyone? Today we are taking a look at these Hive acoustic wall tiles from UpliftDesk. They come in packs of 10 and they come in a couple different colors. We've got dark gray and light gray here. We're going to be putting them both up on our walls in some sort of unique fun pattern. And in addition to showing you how to put them up, how to plan for them, how to measure them out, and then install them, we're also going to do a little bit of a sound demonstration before the tiles go up and a sound demonstration after the tiles go up using a room system. That way we have mics on the table instead of a noise canceling headset, and we'll get a feel for any kind of echo that's present in the room and how the acoustic wall tiles help out with dampening it. So we've unboxed our Hive acoustic wall tiles. We've got both colors here all shuffled in together, and we've got the instructions telling us the items that we're gonna need and how to install these things. Essentially, we're gonna need either, let's see, it says 1 or 1.5 inch nails. I split the difference and we're gonna go with 1 1/4 inch finishing nails. You'll also need a hammer and a handy little box cutter. This is something I added and I'm gonna show you why in just a second. Additionally, looking at the instructions, they say instead of nails, you can use this Loctite construction adhesive or tensor grip spray adhesive. In other words, instead of nailing them to the wall, you can stick them to the wall. I'm going with the nail version because if I want to take them down, the little finishing nail holes I think will be easier to hide than ripping glue off of the painted wall. As you can see, the instructions are not terribly comprehensive, but we're going to take a slightly different approach to make sure that A, our tiles are level in whichever orientation we put them, and B, they are all properly spaced apart. Now, as we determine how we want to lay them out on the wall, I highly recommend that you kind of lay them out on a table or the floor first to kind of get the pattern that you want pre-put together so that you're not necessarily winging it when you go to the wall. Maybe you can do that and maybe it looks great, but if you see it all laid out ahead of time, you kind of have an idea where you're going to go with it. The other decision you got to make is, are we going to put them to where they are flush together and making a solid pattern with no space between them? Or do we want it to have the look and feel of having a little bit of distance between them, maybe a little more distance, and that can get a bit trickier as you get the first one laid and you make sure that all the rest of them have the right equal distance between them and that they're all level. Speaking of levels, also make sure you've got a level on hand so that you can make sure that when you put the tile on the wall, it is perfectly straight in the direction that you want it to go. For our installation, we're gonna go with a bit of a gap. Now this gets a little trickier since we're not putting them together. We have to measure out what that gap's gonna be and make sure that we evenly repeat that gap throughout the entire pattern for however big that is. Here's my little hack to making sure that you get them all properly spaced apart. All right, so here is my spacing hack. First, grab a cardboard box that you don't mind losing pieces from. Well, in this case, we've got one handy from unboxing these tiles, so we're ready to cut a piece from this. Now, determine about how wide you want the gap to be between the two tiles. Right now, I'm looking at this, I kind of like the distance here. This would be 1.5 inches, this would be 1 inch. I think that it might look best if we go with, we'll go with 1.5 inches. Scratch that, we're gonna go with 1 inch. We'll have a 1 inch gap between our tiles up on the wall. So now what we need to do is find a flat edge of the cardboard, and we need to measure in 1 inch up, 1 inch up, and we will need to then cut a nice little rectangle that is perfectly even on every side. We will then take that piece of rectangle, and once we get our first tile hung, we will place the piece of rectangle right there. That'll tell us exactly where to space our tile, and we can repeat that pattern all the way around the tile and as we branch out on the wall. And with our rectangle traced out, we can now cut that perfectly rectangular piece out. And now we have a spacer. As we get our tiles up on the wall, we will place the spacer between them, we will line up the corners, and this will tell us how far apart to space each tile and to make sure they are lined up corner to corner. Here we are in front of our Uplift desk, an L-shaped desk, standing desk, that we are going to install the tiles up behind the monitor where we're speaking so that the sound is absorbed. We have another spot in this room that we're going to be installing them as well. We'll get to that in a minute. But with a standing desk, it is very important to make sure that you don't have the tiles directly behind where you sit at all times, because if you do that, then when you're standing and speaking, the problem you're going to run into is that the tiles will be hidden beneath the desk. So you want to put the desk in its full standing position so that you know exactly where to start placing the tiles so that they're not too low. As you can see, we've got our first tile already installed on the wall over there. It is right in line with where I am speaking. So as I am here at my desk on a meeting, talking into my microphone, looking at the camera, you will not have the tiles below the desk or hidden behind it. Instead, they will be up on the wall behind where my voice is speaking to. Now, admittedly, it's a little easier to hang these if you don't have a desk in your way. So if that's possible, maybe move the desk out of the way so that you have easier access to the wall. But when putting up our first tile, it's already up there, so I'm not going to go over that. But it's important to use that level. All right, if you're going to have it going to where the flat end is horizontal, then you can use a level that way. Make sure it's perfectly even and level on the wall. In our case, we were going to go the other direction, so we used this flat edge, made sure that we were perfectly level, and that way we have a good starting point. We will now use this tile to build out our pattern using that little piece of cardboard that we cut out to make sure there's proper spacing between every single tile. Okay, we're going to install our second tile. We've got 2 of our finishing nails here. We've got our hammer. We've got our tile. We're going to throw a little bit of color switching up here, and we've got that little spacer that we created. So first thing we're going to do, get that spacer lined up perfectly with the edges, and once we've got that, and I believe we are there, then we go ahead and put the other tile lined up on both those corners, making sure that we are even, and then we take our hammer and one of our nails, and we'll gently tap that into place. Making sure we hold it there so that our spacer stays in place. We'll put one more in. And then we'll slide our spacer right out of there. Well, the gap looks about right to me, and it looks like it's lined up at the corners. Let's put some more on the wall. And there we go. We got some tiles behind the room system itself so that we can actually capture some of the voice as it's being cast toward the room system, as well as the voice that is being cast behind the Uplift desk. So we've only put up 10 tiles on each side, but we've got the 10 tiles behind the desk, and then coming over to the opposite side of the room, where the room system is, we've got 10 more tiles capturing voice cast in both directions. I'm thinking that at some point we'll probably want to get maybe 10 to 20 more tiles and put them on this wall as well. We don't have any tiles on the wall behind the Logitech Rally bar system that we're using to record this on. We have one tile back here, but just that one. And this is to give you a little demonstration of a little bit how the room is kind of a big open room, maybe a little more echoey. You get a little bit of a example of what the audio might sound like in a room with no acoustic wall tiles versus after we've installed
the Hive acoustic wall tiles from UpliftDesk. Okay, as you can see from both camera angles, we have the Hive acoustic panels installed on the walls, both in front of me and behind me. Only got 10 on each side. I think I'm going to actually expand them over time just to fill up a little more of the wall. But this should give you a little bit of a sense of how they make a difference with capturing some of that noise in a rather echoey room and making your audio a little more crisp and clean.
Well, there you go, the installation and demo of using the Hive acoustic wall tiles from UpliftDesk. As always, I hope you found this helpful. Please splash it all over your social media accounts if you did. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, I highly encourage you to do so. There is a handy little subscribe link at the bottom of the video here. And I hope that we'll see you back here for the next product overview.